Well, I'm going to talk about a very important study about age verification. We have here with us Juliano Capi with NIC.br. He's going to talk about the launch of the study, age verification practices in 25 digital centers. Let me start then. Thank you very much for being here with us. Thanks for all of those who are with us online. Even though we have the very important appointment today of the regulating decree of the digital ECA with President Lula da Silva. We were informed yesterday we had to reorganize all our schedule, but thanks to the tireless energy of my team and all the support of CGI board members, we've managed to put together this new schedule and have a very successful initiative. I'm very glad that we have welcomed so many people this morning. Thank you once again. In October last year, talking to Alexandre Barbosa with CETIC, we were discussing a study that had been carried out by the Organization for Economic Development in Europe, where they made a survey of the implementation of age verification methods from a group of services. The study started from another document that had been written in 2021 by them about online children's protection. It was a set of minimum requirements for appropriate protection of children. So we decided to embrace the same task. Our board approved the performance of the study. We started in December. There was a team behind it, Diogo, Moises, and Marina. They were absolutely fantastic. I've read it. It is amazing. Very well written, extremely interesting, and it can be very helpful in building a group of actions to improve the protection and control of children and adolescents in the digital world. We are still learning about the results of this survey. I haven't finished reading all profiles. There are over 250 pages. But we can already see some important standards, and these are the ones that I'm going to talk about. These are the ones which are the most important now for the implementation of digital ECA. We adapted the original questions, and they emphasize a set of obligations that are part of the digital ECA. So the document is, above all, a document of public policies. In other words, We have state-of-the-art of implementation of age verification mechanisms and other protection mechanisms. Before digital ECA. And we are going to repeat it in 1 or 2 years and understand how the implementation would have evolved considering all the different obligations encompassed by it. We are talking about practice of age verification in 25 digital services. The study was based on the age assurance practices of 50 online services used by children, published by OECD in 2025. Their publication is not ready yet. We are just sharing with you an initial analytical report and a presentation made by CETIC, which is already available. But we are going to launch a formal publication with all the results. OECD, that carried out the study in Europe, supported our implementation here in Brazil, which was extremely important. Data collection took place between January 10th and 30th this year, and all collected information are also based on publicly available documents such as terms of use, privacy control, and some other references used by the service. There were 550 pages of documents which were analyzed and used for the results of this study. Companies' profiles were sent to the representatives of these services, of these companies, and some companies did answer back and made corrections to what the documents contained. The purpose of the study was to define the practice of age assurance in digital services used by children and adolescents in Brazil before the implementation of digital ECA. So we investigated some dimensions: information availability about policies of use, analyzing accessibility, integrity, clarity, implementation of age assurance mechanisms and other protection mechanisms, other protection layers, such as content restriction, publicity restriction, specific privacy. All these mechanisms and other layers, to some extent, depend or are directly correlated with age assurance mechanisms that determine the age of the user. Parental control mechanisms, resources such as exclusion of users, exclusion of content. And there is also the item about transparency, whether the platforms provide information about the use of service to children and adolescents in Brazil, accounts or users excluded because of behavior incompatibility. In other words, whether the mechanisms are being violated, and in that case, whether they are excluded from the services. There were some criteria to define our 25 centers. Diversity of risks faced by children and adolescents, breadth and diversity of services, services of different nature, and popularity of the services used by children and adolescents. These were the inclusion criteria of the centers. We have investigated app stores, Apple Store, Google Play, relationship, Tinder, Grinder, serves to children such as YouTube Kids, PlayStation, Roblox, Fortnite, Gemini, Chat GPT, Telegram, Pornhub, adult entertainment, social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Discord, betting websites such as Betano, Superbet, and marketplace such as Mercado Livre and Amazon. Here we can see some of the results. Most of the services, 23 out of 25, define a minimum age. It states a minimum age. This is not easy to find, and some centers just make reference to minimum age and say, please use the local legislation, which is one more additional layer of difficulty for users to understand what's being defined. Relationship, adult entertainment, and online bets are restricted to 18 years or more. The other categories, 13 years as minimum category. Here we have the discrepancy between the minimum defined age by the terms and services of use and the app stores. There are three examples: Fortnite, Minecraft, and PlayStation. They have significant discrepancies in the different stores. Now, age assurance mechanism. Most centers use some tool. 19 out of 25 use some kind of age verification mechanism, but only 3 of them use age verification for basic access and creating an account. In other words, someone creates a user, it's just self-declaration, but there is no restriction to use, so the person joins the service. Age assurance is made later to release specific resources which might be forbidden for children below 18. It shows the strategy of not preventing the child or adolescent, not creating hurdles for people to create a user. But if the person is going to access content which is restricted or subject to these difficulties or this category, then there is an age assurance mechanism put in place. There are also third-party services. 11 of the centers out of 25 count on the service of third party for age verification. The most widely used is scanning an official document, and the method for data estimation tends to be the use of a selfie, in video or a photo. Parental supervision. 15 out of 25 centers or services provide parental supervision mechanisms. Most of the cases, 14 out of 15, parental supervision is optional and should be activated by the responsible parents. This is important considering what digital ECA states. The accessibility of tools can still improve because parental control is one of the mechanisms of protection of child or adolescent, which are essential according to the law. Parents and responsible people should effectively start using tools so accessibility of the service is absolutely essential. Very few services provide transparency reports. Only one of them have data about the application of their minimum age policy. Concerning accessibility, integrity, and clarity, many of the pieces of information were very diffuse, fragmented. On average, 22 pages or links had to be investigated to get to a confirmation. You have to read 22 different documents to get to the information you needed on average. And 45% of them were not really available in Portuguese. And with that, I conclude our initial presentation of data. I suppose we are not going to have time for questions. I can see here time's out. But thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for those who are online. And let me hand it back to our MC. Thank you. Thank you, Juliano. Thank you for the presentation. A big round of applause. And if you can please pose for the picture, please. I hope that the comments and dialogues we have had today can contribute to strengthen the cooperation among the different sectors of the industry in protecting the rights of children and adolescents in the digital world. Thank you very much. See you next time.